What's up guys, welcome to Revline 89. So today we're talking about crank horsepower versus wheel horsepower. A lot of guys get it mixed up and they don't quite understand it. So crank horsepower is what the dealers and the manufacturers like to tell you. So they like to say, oh yeah, this Mustang right here, this V6 Mustang is 210 horsepower. But that's to the crank. So actual horsepower for this when we dynoed it at stock was 177 horsepower, and that would be to the wheels. To the crank is what dealers say, to the crank is what manufacturer says, to the wheels are what car guys go by. So to know how much with an estimate, if you don't have a dyno and you're just kind of estimating, to know crank versus wheel, well, it's pretty simple in a way. It depends who you ask. A lot of guys will give their opinion, argue about it. So I'm just going to give you what I've learned and what I think. So you lose horsepower from the crank to the wheels, and it's about a 15 to 20% loss to the wheels. So if you have 300 wheel horsepower, it's around a rough estimate 350 to 360 crank horsepower. So what you could do is, if you know your vehicle from stock, you know like a 3-valve is what, 290 or 300 horsepower. What you could do is take that 300 horsepower for a 3-valve, minus 15% on the low end or minus 20%, and then you can get what estimate the real wheel horsepower is. So you take 210 minus 15% minus 20%. Now each vehicle is different, each vehicle has a different loss, so it's very hard to dictate what is what, but it's just a rough estimate, rough idea. So for us, this stock was only 177 wheel horsepower. Now if you take 210 from factory minus 15% or go through the percentage, you can get the different numbers, but the 177 was when we dynoed it, so we know that it's pretty close. Now we are now pushing, let's see, I think it's, with the mods that we have, I think it's like 211 wheel horsepower with what we have now. So to the crank, I'm not quite sure. You would also add, so if you know your wheel horsepower, then add 15% to 20% and you'll get your crank as well. So yeah, it's just a kind of fun thing to know, but some guys will argue back and forth, so it depends who you ask.